I've always been fascinated by stone masonry. As a kid, I'd spend hours watching my grandfather meticulously lay stones, creating timeless structures. His weathered hands moved with a grace that made the hard work seem easy. By my teens, I knew I wanted to follow in his footsteps, not just to honor him, but because I truly loved the craft. There's something deeply satisfying about shaping raw materials into something lasting. In my early 20s, after 4 years in the military, I returned home with a new outlook. The discipline and patience I had gained paired perfectly with masonry. I took over the family business and soon led projects my grandfather would have been proud of. But it wasn't just about building stone walls, it was the connections I made along the way. At Jerry's wedding, I smiled, genuinely happy for him after all he'd been through. Seeing his joy was heartwarming. When I got his invitation, I called him immediately. "Are you sure about this?" I asked. He chuckled. "Absolutely. If it weren't for you, I'd never have met Anna. You stood by me when others would have walked away." At the wedding, his new wife hugged me and whispered, "I've heard your story. I'd love to hear it from you." I smiled as I watched them. They were older, but acted like teenagers. I wished them well. While dancing with the bride, I saw her, my ex. I froze. Anna noticed and grabbed my arm. "Please don't ruin my wedding," she pleaded. "What is she doing here? Does Jerry know?" I asked, frustrated. "He knows," she replied. "He invited her for you. Now let's finish this dance." I was furious, but stayed. Jerry approached me afterward, grinning. "I didn't invite her to the wedding, just the reception. You need to talk to her." I argued, but both Jerry and Anna stayed by my side. Finally, Anna snapped, "You're being ridiculous. Talk to her, get it over with, and stop ruining our night." She was right. ID had too much to drink, and suddenly there she was, tears in her eyes, hand outstretched. "Will you dance with me, please?" she asked. I could have ignored her, but instead, I took her hand. As we danced, I felt her tears on my jacket. She whispered, "Let me pretend, just for a moment, that you still love me." The truth was, I did. We moved slowly, lost in memories. I thought about all the women ID loved, but she was the one who lingered, the one who was never truly mine. That's why it hurt so much. As I held her tighter, I realized I was only torturing myself. I saw the fight coming, but didn't believe it. A smaller guy, about 40, rushed at me, his friends trying to stop him. I was 31, tall, strong, and feeling good. It was a Thursday, I'd just been paid, and I was waiting for my girlfriend. What could go wrong? I didn't know the guy and had never seen him before. He stood right in front of me, and I wondered what he was up to. His hands slowly moved up from his knees, forming fists. It was so awkward, I figured he'd never thrown a punch before, then he hit me in the eye. I was so focused on his weird movements, I didn't even think to defend myself. I fell, and he tried to kick me. I had been out of the military long enough to get caught off guard, but my instincts kicked in fast. I rolled, grabbed his leg, and pulled him down, trapping him easily. His two friends tried to jump in, but they were outnumbered, and the bartender helped pull me off him. My cousin, who owned the bar, saw everything but just kept polishing glasses. I caught my breath and got in the guy's face. "What's your problem, man? You must have a death wish attacking someone half your age and twice your size." He kept struggling. "Let me go, you lowlife. You need to learn not to mess with married women." I stared at him, thinking he was either high or insane. I shoved him off and stood up. "I'm not doing anything wrong. But if you come at me again, you'll regret it. Got it?" He didn't. He came at me again, and I knocked him out with one punch. I told his friends to get him out, and the bartender backed me up. They dragged him away, and we all laughed it off, until my date arrived. She saw the bruise and asked what happened. Some guy thought I was messing with his wife and sucker punched me. Sad, really. He was older, short, and didn't know how to fight, but he had guts. As I explained, her face went pale. I tried to lighten the mood. Relax, I'm fine. But if you want to kiss it better, I won't complain. She kissed me and teased, he must have been crazy to attack you. Didn't he notice these muscles? Later, I found out she just wanted me to describe him again. He was older, short, a bit out of shape, but had nerve. If his wife really was cheating, it could get ugly. Melody excused herself, saying she wasn't feeling well. My cousin, the bartender, chimed in, guys like that are the ones you have to watch. They snap when they find out their wife's cheating. I've seen it 100 times. Let's hope you rattled him enough to stay away. I agreed. I hope he finds the right guy and deals with him, but he needs to get his facts straight first. Melody came back looking upset. Sorry, the hospital called. Big accident on the highway, they need help. I'll call you tomorrow if I'm not too tired. She kissed me and left. She was a trauma nurse, so this happened often. Luckily, she had a few days off after her long shifts, while I worked out of town most of the week. No, I don't have a fancy job flying around the country solving big problems, I lay stone. That's right, big rocks. My dad was always traveling for work, making big money for his company, so my mom mostly raised my sister and me on her own. She did a great job. But when I was 12, my dad left her for a younger woman. It broke her heart, but my grandfather, who never liked him, stepped in. Dad tried to rush the divorce and cut off her medical benefits, but Granddad hired a top divorce lawyer and made sure she got what she deserved. Dad backed down when his career was threatened and moved to the West Coast. We hardly saw him after that, except at my high school graduation when he offered to pay for college if I moved out west. I refused and kicked him out when he insisted. That was the last time I saw him. My mom later remarried a good man, and I became a big brother at 15. My stepdad offered to help pay for college, but I joined the military instead, serving 4 years, including a year each in both Iraq and Afghanistan. Afterward, I used my military benefits to go to school while working for my grandfather. Granddad was a master stonemason. I started learning from him at 14, working summers and after school. In Afghanistan, I built walls around our positions, and when one of my walls saved lives, the other guys started helping. The local Afghan masons were incredibly skilled, and I learned a lot from them too. When I got out of the service, I joined the family business. Soon I was managing jobs with just a couple of assistants, while Granddad handled the big projects. He was planning to retire, but before he could, a texting driver ran over him while he was crossing the street. He died instantly. He had already transferred the company to me by that time, and I took over at age 27. We specialized in building dry stone walls, no mortar, just the skill of laying stones to keep them stable. It's a difficult craft, but we were the best. Before Granddad passed, he secured a contract to repair walls at 5 of the state's oldest universities. Some of these walls were over 300 years old. I had a crew of master masons and journeymen at each site, paying the journeymen based on their skill level, with the chance to increase their wages over time. There was some concern about whether I could handle the contract after Granddad's death, but I reassured them, the same skilled masons are still working, the quality won't suffer. They kept the contract with us, knowing how rare good masons are. I didn't enjoy managing the business without doing the hands-on work, so I hired my sister Becky, who had just graduated with a business degree. She was good at spotting poor work and could lay stone herself. We ran the business together with help from our stepdad Jerry, who was an accountant. My younger brother, Jerry Jr., was 15, and I promised him a summer job learning the trade. Though he had a talent for math and might not stick with masonry, I knew he'd be valuable no matter what path he chose. I was 30 when I met Melody. One Thursday night, she came to the bar with friends, and we felt an instant attraction. My cousin Billy, who owned the bar, often had live bands playing country music. I watched Mel dance to a few fast songs, admiring her grace. When she came to the bar as a slow song started, she grabbed my hand, smiling, and said, "I don't want to waste a good slow song. Let's dance." I was so surprised I just followed her, while my friends laughed. Dancing with Mel felt like magic. She moved so close, like we were the only two people in the room. By the end of the song, I think I was already in love. She was about 59, and with heels, she could look me right in the eye. When the song ended, she didn't let go of my hand and pulled me to her table to meet her friends, though I couldn't remember their names. We talked until closing, and one of her friends urged her to kiss me and get my number before leaving. She kissed me, asked if I'd be there the next night, and told me to meet her at 7:30 for dinner. Then she was gone, leaving behind her perfume and the lingering taste of her lips. Back at the bar, Billy teased me. "Not bad, Bandit. If she'd held out a hoop, you'd have jumped through it." My nickname came from my real name, Jesse James, and my dad had picked it because he admired the outlaw's Robin Hood reputation. I had a rough history with women. My first serious girlfriend broke up with me before I left for the military, saying she didn't want to wait for an uncertain future. We met again after I returned, but we had both changed and the spark was gone. The second was Cindy, a college volleyball star. She was tall, athletic, and incredibly arrogant, used to getting her way. She believed she was special, and the whole campus treated her like royalty because her team had won several national championships. I wasn't bad-looking myself, 6 feet 1 inch, muscular from masonry work, with sandy brown hair, pale blue eyes, and a permanent tan from working outdoors. One day, Cindy and her entourage walked into a crowded bar where I was eating alone. She asked me to give up my table for her and her friends, assuming I'd leave. She smiled confidently. I just smiled back and kept eating, surprising her by not giving in. After a couple of minutes, she snorted, "Are you going to leave or what?" "We're waiting. When I'm done or a smaller table opens up, I'll gladly give it up," I replied. "Or, since I have plenty of space, you're welcome to join me." One of the guys spoke up. "You can go stand at the bar." I smirked. "Standing while eating will make your legs even bigger. I'm already struggling to find a decent 14-year-old girl, don't make it harder." He growled, "Maybe I'll make you leave." He was about 510 and looked fit, but his posture said he didn't know how to fight. I looked at him, took a sip of tea, ate a fry, and said, "3 outcomes here. 1, you knock me out and everyone thinks you're an idiot for picking a fight with someone minding their business. 2, I knock you out and everyone thinks you deserved it for being an idiot. Or 3, you let me finish and I'll be gone in a minute. Let your friends sit while you grab drinks, I'll be out of here by then." He pouted, and Cindy, watching all this, finally said, "Brian, stop. Just get the drinks, we'll sit here if this gentleman shares." By then, I was done. I stood, pushed the chair out for the girl nearest me, and said, "Please take the table. I'm finished. Have a nice evening." I reached for my cane, revealing the cast on my leg from a student dropping a rock on my foot. Cindy's eyes widened. "Stay and let us buy you a beer," she offered. "Thanks, but I can't drink due to my meds." Brian came back, saw the cast, and smirked. He followed me outside, thinking I'd be an easy target. "You think that cast will save you?" "It'll make things easier," he said, threatening me. Without a word, I turned and jabbed my cane into his groin. He dropped instantly, groaning and wetting himself. I calmly said, "Don't get up until I'm gone. If you do, I'll assume you want trouble, and you won't like what happens next. Grow up." When I walked out, Cindy and her friends had noticed his absence and came out just in time to see the end of our interaction. They helped him up and dusted him off. Cindy started asking around the restaurant about me and eventually tracked me down. One night, when I walked into the bar and grill, she pointed to an empty chair. "I saved you a seat," she said. I was about to sit elsewhere when she touched my shoulder. "Please, just for a moment, we owe you an apology. Brian was an idiot, and he's not with us anymore." I sensed sincerity and sat down. I was surprised to learn that her friends weren't airheads. One was studying political science with a job offer from a lobbying group, another was heading to Yale, and a third was getting an MBA from Wharton. Cindy was majoring in sports psychology, planning to use it after her volleyball career. They discussed their futures and occasionally asked for my opinion. I chimed in when I could. When the conversation shifted to my work, one friend asked, "Wow, that's a niche market. Is it good money? What's your business plan?" I raised my hand and said, "It's great money. I'll never be rich, but I'll be comfortable. Most of my work comes from word of mouth, and my services aren't for everyone. I usually work on multi-million-dollar properties. Right now, I've got 2 major projects with developers and a restoration contract for the state college system. I've been doing this for 2 years, and tomorrow I'm flying out to pitch similar contracts in other states. I'll probably hire local masons to handle the new workload." Even when the economy struggled, I stayed busy, because the wealthy always need quality work. Everyone was surprised, and Becca, a business major, spoke first. "I'm writing a paper on niche businesses. I might focus it on your company, if you're okay with it." "Sure," I said, grinning. "It'll be good advertising, but you might need to travel for a deeper look. Most of the work is out in the field." She smiled. "No problem. My parents fund anything school-related." Cindy didn't look thrilled but stayed quiet. Later, I found out she tried to talk Becca out of it. Becca refused, saying the report would boost her Wharton application. "And I'm not dating him," she smirked. "What he plans is another story." We ended up in a 2-year relationship, and I quickly learned that to keep Cindy in check, I had to throw her off balance. She had a "my way or else" attitude, and I made it clear, "You may be the queen at school, but not with me. I want a partnership, where we both lead and follow." She smiled and said, "I'll be your queen if you'll be my king." For 18 months, I kept her guessing, even delaying intimacy to maintain control. One night, she got fed up and snapped, "Damn it, bandit, man up and do me." "What's wrong? Scared you won't be good enough?" I replied calmly, "I've heard all about your skills from others. But thanks for the offer, I'll pass. Good night." She tried to apologize and physically stop me, but I broke free and left. I didn't see her for 2 weeks, despite her calls and messages. When I finally returned, her last emails were nasty. She didn't handle rejection well. One night, I ran into Becca and her law school friend Carol at a bar. Carol grinned and asked, "Did Cindy dump you?" Becca laughed. "Look at his face, I bet you dumped her, didn't you, Jess?" I shrugged. It was mutual. We had different ideas about relationships. Carol laughed. "I bet she wanted you to jump through hoops, and you refused. She's been a mess since you left." Just then, Cindy walked in with a basketball player. She saw us and stormed over, leaving the guy trailing behind, trying to hold her hand. She snapped at him, "Let go of me. We're just friends." The guy, frustrated, said, "Why are you stuck on that redneck? He dumped you, and he's a loser. He'll never support you like I can." Becca nearly fell off her chair laughing. "What an idiot. You're not even in the pros yet, and that's no guarantee. Jesse owns a successful business, makes 6 figures, and that number's growing. Not bad for a redneck, huh, Dustin?" Just as Dustin was about to object, Carol stepped in. "Dustin, whatever you're thinking, stop. Look at him. Those muscles aren't from the gym, and he's been in combat twice. He could take you apart easily. Why don't you go sit at the bar? Becca and I will keep you company." They walked him out as he grumbled. Cindy sat down, staring at me for a few minutes before saying, "The worst part about being spoiled is that it works. I know I'm arrogant and a control freak, but I'm a good person. Why don't we start over?" I stayed quiet, which made her uncomfortable, so she continued, "I regret that night. I thought I was supposed to be admired. I know I'm just a girl and there are better ones out there, but they'll never love you like I do. I'll wait for you, and you can set the pace." For months later, Cindy wanted to see where our relationship was headed. After not winning nationals, she blamed me for distracting her. She had an offer to play pro beach volleyball, with most of the money coming from endorsements. We talked it over and decided to get married, though we agreed to wait until after her first year. She traveled with me for a month, spending time together before her season started. When she left, it was hard. She cried, and I almost had to push her onto the plane. I told her, "If you don't like it, come home, I can pay for your studies." She hugged me tighter. "I need to prove I can take care of myself. I signed a contract, and I have to play." Her first season went well. She and her partner were ranked first. The tiny uniforms they wore on TV bothered me, but she laughed it off. "It's in the contract, honey. Part of an ad campaign. You don't mind, do you?" I supported her, though we only saw each other once a month for a few days. When she finally came home, my mom started hinting at grandchildren. Meanwhile, my sister Becky was settling down with her wife. After Mom came to terms with Becky's life, she started pressuring them to adopt or try artificial insemination, which they were considering. After 4 weeks at home, Cindy became distant. I confronted her, and she eventually admitted, "I signed another contract for next season." They doubled the money, and I couldn't turn it down. I was furious. We argued constantly. "You promised last year would be it," I said. Cindy, frustrated, screamed back at me, but then, when I wasn't paying attention, she stopped. In a quiet voice, she said, "I'll write a contract. If I don't quit next year, the marriage is off. Please, Bandit, this means so much to me." I looked at her and said, "You don't need a contract. If you don't stop next year, I'm gone. Got it?" She went pale and made promises, ones she didn't keep. Early the next year, her team's success continued, and her partner Jen even called to thank me for letting Cindy stay on tour. Jen mentioned this would be her last year. She was moving on to teaching and coaching. She joked that if her marriage had been like ours, she might still be married. That comment left me uneasy. Later, when Cindy told me about Jen's call, I gave her a look. She went quiet. I asked, "What arrangement is Jen talking about?" Cindy tried to laugh it off, saying Jen was just scattered after her divorce, and reassured me, "I'll never make her mistake." When I pressed, she admitted Jen had an affair with a guy on tour, which led to her divorce. Cindy promised, "I would never hurt you like that." Normally, Cindy called me every Monday and Tuesday, but one week I heard nothing, despite my calls and emails. The following week, she came home unexpectedly, furious that I hadn't been answering. I told her I was just following her lead. We had a huge argument, and in a fit of anger, I mentioned her Spanish boyfriend. She went pale, and I left. 2 days later, Cindy showed up at my work, begging to talk. She insisted nothing was happening and promised to quit the tour after the season. She said everything I wanted to hear, and I believed her. She did 2 more photo shoots, but one day, while waiting on my truck tires, I saw a golf magazine featuring Juan Pablo. In one picture, he was kissing Cindy at a beach volleyball match. The article mentioned he attended her events to support his girlfriend. I was furious. I ignored her calls and flew to her next match. When I got to her hotel, Juan opened the door, turning pale when he saw me. Cindy wasn't there. I called her, and she cheerfully claimed to be at dinner with her partner, Yen. I chatted for a few minutes while Juan stood frozen. After hanging up, I turned to Juan and said, "I was in the military. I spent 2 years in the desert eliminating people. I won't eliminate you, but if you lie, I'll break your wrists and knees. You'll live, but you won't walk or use your hands properly. It's your choice. Would I have actually done it? No. But I was so angry that Juan believed me. He started spilling everything. It began at the end of the first season, not with me, but with another player. Cindy said you were okay with it. He admitted that you had an arrangement. She told me it would end after the season and she was excited to marry you. Where is she now? I asked. Juan panicked and confessed they were staying at another hotel. I grabbed him by the throat and warned him not to tip her off. Later, I watched Cindy and her new partner walk into their hotel. I waited a few minutes before kicking the door open. Cindy nearly fainted when she saw me. Her partner tried to act tough, but I quickly pinned him. How long? I demanded. 3 or 4 months, he stammered. You knew she was engaged and still went along with it? I asked, noting he was also engaged. He begged for mercy. Cindy silently fixed her dress, and I realized time was running out as people gathered in the hallway. I let him go, punched him once, and said, "Good luck playing golf now." To Cindy, I said, "Keep the ring. We're done." I left, called the hotel manager, and offered to cover repairs and medical bills, then got out of there. The next day, the tournament announcers downplayed his injury as an accident. Rumors spread fast, and he flew home, newly single. Cindy and her partner played poorly for the rest of the season. Jen retired, and Cindy played for 4 more seasons before earning her PhD. She tried to contact me for months, even telling my mom she'd fly out to talk. My mom laughed and told her off. Cindy never came. For 2 years, I had trust issues with women. Then I met Melody, and everything changed. She was a trauma nurse, and our schedules aligned. We took it slow: dinners, dancing, museums, and baseball games. It wasn't long before I was head over heels. We never saw each other on her workdays, but she always called during breaks. She lived with 2 other nurses, and they had a strict "no boyfriends at the house" rule to avoid drama. One of them had stolen another's boyfriend while she was asleep. So, Melody and I had to set rules. Tired of motel rooms, I started house hunting and asked my business contacts for leads. They teased me, saying, "She's got you, huh?" One designer advised, "Let her help choose the house." I took the advice and involved Melody, using my insider knowledge to find homes. The first few didn't impress her, but we found a 4-bedroom house on 3 acres just outside town that she loved. She smiled and said, "I'm thinking about treehouses." I took the week off, finalized the deal, and got a great price. On Friday, we returned to the house and I asked, "Could you be happy living here?" "I'd love it." "Why?" she asked. "Because we bought it. I need you to pick out furniture, is that okay?" Before she could answer, I knelt and proposed, telling her I wanted to spend my life with her. She fainted from shock. When she recovered, she said, "I love you, Jesse. But I can't marry you yet. Give me 6 months and ask again." I wasn't expecting that and felt disappointed, but she reassured me. We went furniture shopping the next day, and her comment about the rocking chair, "This might come in handy in a year or 2, gave me hope. Later, I introduced her to my family. My mom and Becky liked her, my little brother was smitten, and my stepdad's smirk showed approval. Only Grandma wasn't thrilled. The following Friday, I arrived at the new house to find she had already set up the dining and guest rooms. She was on our new bed, unclothed, teasing, "I was going to start without you. I want to christen every piece of furniture." That weekend, we barely made it past the bedroom. The next weekend, I was at a bar waiting for her when a guy punched me after she left. I stayed for a few more drinks. As I headed home, 2 shots struck my car. Instinct kicked in, and I dove behind my SUV. The drunk guy from earlier was coming after me, shouting, "I'll make sure you never mess up another husband." I realized he wasn't finished with me. My stepdad's advice rang in my ears, never leave a live snake behind. I waited silently, and when he got close, I threw my shoe to distract him. As he turned, I grabbed his weapon hand and yanked him back, causing the gun to drop. I knocked him down until I realized I had to stop before it went too far. I dragged him into my truck and drove to an abandoned barn. When he started waking up, I pulled him out, letting his head hit the gravel. After splashing water on his face, he groggily realized what was happening. "I didn't plan to destroy you," I said, kicking his weapon away. "But I wanted to scare you." A .32. "Really?" he muttered. I nodded. "What do you want me to say?" "I'm not okay with you seeing my wife. Sooner or later, I'll get even. You might as well finish me now." Despite the situation, he wasn't backing down. I slapped him lightly and asked, "I'm not with anyone's wife. What can I do to end this?" Defeated, he told me to check his wallet. I pulled out a picture of Melody, and my heart sank. It was her, younger, in a wedding dress. "Is that her?" he asked. "You didn't know, did you? How does it feel?" I couldn't respond. After talking a bit, we started drinking from the bottle of whiskey I'd brought for the new house. The next morning, I woke to find him holding the .32. "You're right, it's not much. But I wouldn't want to be shot by it," he said, putting it away. We talked more in the truck. He admitted he'd always suspected something like this would happen, given their age difference and time apart. He worked weekends as a trucker, leaving her plenty of time to stray. I asked what he planned to do. "Divorce her, of course. She's yours now, if you still want her," he said with a bitter laugh. I admitted I wasn't sure I could trust her. We drove back to his car, and I reminded him not to forget his weapon. "Keep it," he said. "I don't need it to remember what almost happened." As he drove off, I asked one last time, "What are you going to do?" "You're lucky you can walk away. I'm getting a divorce. If it gets messy, let me know, I'll testify for you." I watched him drive away, feeling both relief and loss. Later, I emailed Melody, "I'm not running, but I need time. Don't contact me until next weekend. I'll think about everything, but don't expect me to believe much." She replied quickly, "Thank you for letting me talk. There's a lot you don't know, and I want to explain. I'll be at your house next Saturday at 4 o'clock. Believe it or not, I love you." The week dragged on as I struggled with what to say. My co-workers noticed something was off and gave me space. As Saturday approached, my dread grew. When she arrived, I made her sit at the kitchen table, the one she spent weeks choosing. As she started to speak, I cut her off. "Ground rules," I said firmly. "No, I love you, or apologies. Just explain. Why did you go to bars and date while married? Could you live with me doing the same?" Tears filled her eyes. After a few moments, she began. She grew up poor, raised by a heavy-drinking father after her mom left. She married Jerry for stability, not love. When their schedules conflicted, she started going out with friends to ease her loneliness. She always wore her rings, but then she met me. "I didn't love Jerry like I love you," she admitted. "But I respected him. I didn't know how to tell him. You should have left him when you realized how you felt. Instead, you used him as a backup," I said, frustrated. "I know," she whispered. I shook my head. "Even if we stayed together, how could I trust you? What happens when I'm gone for work and you're lonely again?" She cried, but I pushed on. "It's about trust, Mel. I need to trust my partner completely, and right now, I don't think that's you." She sat quietly, then said, "I understand. But no one will ever love you as much as I do. Even if we never get back together, I'll prove that to you." She left without another word. We spoke only twice after that, with little progress. Eventually, she started emailing me for months. The emails ended with her begging for another chance, though they became less frequent over time. She mentioned therapy, and going with Jerry a couple of times. After 7 months, she stopped writing. Her last email read, "My dear Jess, this will be my final message. I'm officially divorced now. The second best moment in my life was finalizing my divorce, the first was meeting you. Therapy helped me realize I was too immature and selfish to marry Jerry. I stayed with him out of fear, but it was doomed from the start. I'm living with 2 other nurses now, and for the first time, I feel independent. In honor of my divorce, I'm giving you a gift, I'm letting you go. I realize now that if I were you, I wouldn't trust me either. I hope you find someone who loves you as much as I did, and still do. Mel." I stared at the screen, finger hovering over the delete button, but I couldn't bring myself to do it. It was too painful to read again, so I saved it instead. That's how I drifted through life. If it weren't for work, I might have lost it altogether. It took almost 10 months before I went on a date again. She was the sister of a contractor I worked with, a witty, beautiful woman who enjoyed dancing close. I had fun, but there was no spark. After 2 more dates, she found someone else, and we parted amicably. During this time, I saw Mel twice. The first was at a stoplight. I spotted her through the window of a bistro, laughing with friends. I sat there so long the car behind me honked. She turned, saw me, and I drove away. The second time was at a club where I was on a date with Tina. When our eyes met, Mel burst into tears and ran out. Her friend Gwen came by my table and angrily accused me of rubbing my new relationship in Mel's face. I stayed calm. It's been almost a year. We were bound to run into each other. Tell her I'm sorry if I upset her, but she needs to move on. Gwen muttered "a-hole" as she walked away. Tina, noticing the tension, asked for the full story, and after I explained, she said, "You're not over her. I saw your face when you noticed her." Jerry, who had started coming to my cousin's bar, and I eventually became friends. He admitted he still missed her sometimes. He told me one of her nurse friends mentioned they called her "Nun" because she hadn't dated since me. She blamed it on how much I had spoiled her. Jerry shared that Mel had been writing letters of apology as part of her therapy. I admitted I'd received one but didn't elaborate. Jerry had moved on, he was dating a military widow, and they were a great match. I helped sponsor his stepdaughter's softball team and even planned his bachelor party. Watching Jerry's happiness made me think about my own future, wondering if I'd ever be in the stands cheering on my own kids. I threw myself into work, taking on more contracts than we could handle. My family eventually convinced me to slow down, reminding me that quality was key. I passed some jobs to competitors and got things back on track. Then I ran into Becca, a college friend, who offered me a contract to build a small stone cottage. I agreed, and as I worked, I discovered an old stash hidden in a chimney, whiskey, letters, and a wedding ring. I returned the items to the family, who later donated them to a historical society. The story made the papers and sparked a wave of chimney excavations. Becca later invited me to a party to show off my work. While there, she mentioned she still kept in touch with Cindy, my ex. She showed me photos. Cindy had cut her hair, gained some weight, but looked happy with her second husband, David. Becca said Cindy had come clean about her past and was trying to make this marriage work. Surprisingly, I was genuinely happy for her. I hadn't thought about her in years, but it seemed she had finally found peace. Meanwhile, I stopped dating, trying to figure myself out. Melody's ghost still lingered in my mind. On a whim, I sent her an email, "Mel, I wasn't trying to make a statement when I saw you at the club. It was a coincidence, and I had no intention of hurting you. If it's any consolation, it ruined my night too. Jess." She replied the next day, "I'm sorry I ruined your evening. I know it's over between us, and we'll never be together again, but I can't stop loving you. I've given up trying. Time hasn't healed me, it's only made me miss you more. I got a job offer at another hospital, far enough away that we won't run into each other. I think I'll take it and start fresh. Maybe then I'll finally move on. I wish you happiness, Jess. Mel. P.S. If you ever want to talk, just text. I thought about it. We didn't see each other much, but if moving would help her, I was fine with it. Maybe one of us could finally find happiness. And then, there we were, dancing. The feeling was both familiar and different. Jerry had bribed the orchestra to play 3 slow songs in a row. I would have stopped after the first, but she held on. When the music finally ended, she clutched my arm. Will you sit with me for a while? Please, I'll beg if I have to. To avoid embarrassment, I agreed. She led me to a small table in the back where we could talk. She made small talk for a minute before I stopped her. Just say what you really mean, Mel. She looked at me, her face determined. I want you back. I've tried to let you go, but I can't stop loving you. I can see it in your eyes, you still care about me. Why don't we start over? Give me one chance. If it doesn't work, I'll leave you alone. Please. Just one date. She kissed me on the cheek and left. I watched her talk to Jerry and Anna before disappearing out the door. Jerry sat down beside me. Well, he asked. Well, what? I replied. Are you going to give her another chance? You deserve it. I stared at him in disbelief, but he sighed and added, since meeting you, she hasn't been with anyone else. She even apologized in a letter saying she caught something at work and needed 6 months to clear it. She's been through a lot. I thought about it for 2 weeks, then called Mel and invited her to a concert in a neighboring town. After a long pause, she quietly said yes. We met at a playground before the concert. She wore a pale yellow sundress, and her smile lit up when she saw me. We walked around, window shopped, and watched the show. When the duo performed a song about rekindling romance, it brought a smile to her face. After the concert, I suggested we grab pizza at Yan's, one of our favorite spots. She agreed, tears in her eyes. We shared a pizza, and afterward, I walked her to her car. She hugged me, kissed my cheek, and drove off. I stood there, wondering what it all meant. We went out 2 more times, a movie, where she snuggled against me, and a day at the local fair. She laughed at the exhibits and admired the quilts, reminding me of the time she said she wanted to make quilts for our future children. I kept quiet, but I pocketed a flyer for a quilting club as a potential birthday gift. At the fair, we kissed for the first time while watching fireworks. It wasn't planned, it just happened. We didn't speak afterward, and when I drove her home, she simply walked into her house without a word. For the next 3 weeks, we didn't see each other. We talked on the phone, but she seemed distant, and I began to wonder if the kiss had been a mistake. I called home to let my family know I'd finished the project and would be back by Thursday. They were relieved but worried I was overworking myself. I sighed, tossed my dirty laundry in the foyer, deciding to wash it later. I needed a shower first. Since buying the apartment, the only major change I made was remodeling the bathroom. It now had a huge shower with multiple nozzles and settings for full flow, massage, or mist. Ironically, I had it designed with Mel in mind, but it wasn't finished until 2 weeks after we broke up. Living alone for a while, you stop thinking about what you're wearing. Then I heard a giggle. Mel was sitting on my bed. What? How? Why? I stammered. She smiled. Your mom told me you'd be home tonight. You never asked for the keys back, remember? I'm here because I need to talk to you. Now get dressed and meet me in the living room, she said, teasing. Or you could stay like that, and I'll join you. Flustered, I quickly grabbed some clothes. When I came out, she was sitting in the rocking chair, smiling at me. "I have something to say, and I need you to let me finish without interrupting," she said. I sat down on the couch we had picked out together, memories flooding back. She began, "I know I've seemed off lately, it's because I miss what we had. And I want it back. I want you back. I've realized you still love me. And I still love you. But love isn't the problem, it's trust. I lied to you and hurt you. I need to earn your trust again, so here's my plan, let me move back in. You can install cameras, put a GPS tracker on my car, even make me wear a bracelet like those criminals do. And if that's not enough, I'll wear a chastity belt to prove you can trust me." She lowered her head, embarrassed. I gently explained, "You don't need to do any of that. If we tried, it would destroy our relationship. Trust can't be forced. You'd end up resenting it, and I can't live like that." She started crying. I pulled her close and comforted her. "Is it over?" she whispered. "No. It's just beginning. What you are willing to do shows me we can make this work. Let's take our time and rebuild from here." Her smile, full of hope, reminded me of sunlight after a storm. The next morning, I planned to take her to breakfast and help her grab some clothes from her apartment. She was working a double shift but would be back for the weekend. I met her roommates, Amanda and Beth. Amanda, a twice-divorced blonde, had a crush on Mel, while Beth had anger issues and was in therapy after her ex-husband left her. As soon as Mel stepped out of the room, they attacked me verbally. Amanda accused me of never forgiving Mel and said I'd end up hurting her. Beth chimed in, calling me an unforgiving idiot who'd make Mel jump through hoops before dumping her again. Furious, I shot back. "This has nothing to do with you two. Amanda, you're just in love with her. And Beth, you don't want anyone to be happy. Your husband deserves a medal for putting up with you." At that moment, Mel reappeared, catching the end of the argument. Amanda turned on her. "Mel, this guy isn't going to forgive you. He's just waiting for you to get comfortable so he can hurt you again." I was beyond mad. "Pride isn't a bad thing, Amanda. It lets you live true to your beliefs. It helps you stand tall even when everything else falls apart." Mel stayed silent, and I sighed. "Mel's ready. We're leaving." I took her hand and walked out, relieved to be done with that toxic apartment. On the way to the car, Mel stayed quiet. Instead of taking her suitcase inside, she placed it in the trunk. I was confused. "Mel, why not leave your suitcase here? You don't have to drive around with it. It'll be safe, and you can grab it later." She avoided eye contact. "I'll pass. I'll probably just go home and crash after work. I need some time to think." That hit me hard. "What's going on? Earlier, you regretted volunteering for the job. And now, after listening to those angry women, you don't want to spend time with me?" Frustrated, I added, "Fine. Go find someone else. But I've lived without you once, and if you start playing games, I'm done. I want my key back." I could tell she realized her mistake, but I wasn't in the mood to be reasonable. After everything we went through to get back together, was she really pulling away? I told myself I didn't need her, but I did. I missed her more than before and was angry at myself for getting my hopes up again. To distract myself, I threw myself into work, tackling a backlog of projects. I stayed away from home for 3 weeks, only taking a day off to do laundry and check on the house. When I got back, I was shocked to see her car in my driveway. Mel rushed out and hugged me tightly, nearly knocking us both over. She was sobbing, mumbling incoherently. I had to gently force her wrists behind her back to stop her from gripping me too tightly. "Shut up," I snapped. My raised voice surprised us both. I stood up, leaving her on the ground, but her whimpers turned into screams. Despite wanting to shut her out, I couldn't ignore her pain. I picked her up and carried her inside, not too gently, and got her some water. "Drink," I ordered. After a few sips, I asked, "How did you get here?" She whispered, "I broke the window." "You what?" I asked, stunned. "I broke the window and used the spare key. I had a fight with Amanda and Beth. They kicked me out, and I came here. You didn't respond to my calls or messages. I waited, hoping you'd come back. I just wanted to be near you. If you want me to leave, I will." Kicking her out felt too harsh. "Not right now. Order a pizza, I'm starving. I'll be back after a shower." When I came out dressed in sweats, Mel had freshened up. She looked younger, hopeful. The pizza arrived and we sat down to eat. I noticed she looked thinner. "Are you on a diet?" I asked. She shook her head. "I just haven't felt like eating much." After dinner, we sat in the living room. I didn't sit next to her, which clearly disappointed her, but I needed to clear my head. "Tell me the truth, Mel. We both want to be together, but how can I trust you again? What can you do to prove it?" She had a plan: couples counseling. A friend at work had gone through it, and it helped her and her boyfriend work through their issues. "I think it's the only way to fix this," she said. "I'm willing to try, even if we realize we're not meant to be. This half-life is killing me. Please think about it." I agreed to consider it, and she nodded. Then she started dragging her suitcase toward the door. "Where are you going?" I asked, surprised. "To a motel. I'll look for an apartment next week." "I know you don't want me here," she said quietly. Instead of letting her leave, I picked up her suitcase and started unpacking it. "Help me put this away," I said, teasing her by gently twirling one of her drawstrings. Blushing, she smiled through her tears. "Fine, but you have to take them off as often as possible." "Agreed," I said, "but there will be some rules. Make an appointment for counseling, and let's take this slow." She nodded, and we shared a glass of wine, savoring the moment. "We'll make it work, Mel," I said, "but I need to know I can trust you completely. If either of us ever feels it's not working, we have to be honest." She nodded again, then added, "And I need you to spend more time with me, not just one day a week. I want your full presence. And I need you to promise to attend all our counseling sessions. No excuses." "I promise," I replied, and we left the conversation at that. We didn't make love that night. It didn't feel right. Instead, I lay awake, wondering if we were finally on the right path. The next day, we started couples counseling. I was surprised she chose a male counselor, but she explained that he had the highest success rate. After our individual sessions, where we shared our hopes and regrets, we discovered that our answers were more similar than expected. When we began joint sessions, the counselor was calm but direct. Mel would sometimes cry, and though I didn't, there were moments he pushed me hard enough that I wanted to lash out. During one session, Mel admitted what I had long suspected: she stayed with Jerry as a safety net, in case I wasn't the man she hoped I would be. When she realized she wanted to be with me, she started the divorce process but didn't file right away because she wasn't sure how I felt. "That's ridiculous," I said when she finally confessed. The counselor turned to her. "Melanie, is that really true? During those 6 months, you didn't feel sure of Jesse's love, even while spending weekends with Jerry? You still shared a bed with him, exchanged affection, and then did the same with Jesse. You only filed after you were caught." Mel suddenly shouted, startling both of us. "You think I don't know what I did? I betrayed them both and ruined my chances for happiness." The counselor remained composed. "I don't think that's entirely true, or you two wouldn't be here. But I do believe we've reached the point where the rest is up to you." We were both stunned. "But we're not healed yet," Mel protested. "No," he said, "but you've arrived at the crossroads. The rest is your choice. You love each other, that's clear. But the question is whether Jesse can trust you again. You're both uncertain if the pain and effort are worth it. I can't make that decision for you. If you can forgive each other, you'll never regret it. If you can't, it's time to walk away. I wish you both luck. After that session, Mel and I tried to move forward. For 3 months, we had good days, but triggers would cause tension. She called me every night and even sent pictures to prove she was home, but it got exhausting. One night, I told her, stop sending pictures. Stop locking yourself in the house. You made a mistake, and if you learn from it, we'll be fine. If not, it's over. She seemed to understand. Soon after, she started going out with friends again. One night, she called and thanked me for trusting her. That felt good. But even with progress, something still felt off. She had become quieter, and I worried we were nearing the end. Then we went to a flea market, one of her favorite places. Watching her browse with such grace, I saw her smile at me, but it quickly faded, replaced by sadness. That's when I realized that if I didn't change, I was going to lose her. As we left, a sudden thunderstorm hit. Mel flinched. She was afraid of storms, so I put my arm around her. I ran to get the truck, praying for a way to break through my emotional walls. A song came on the radio, slow and familiar. As it played, I glanced at a bumper sticker. Life isn't about waiting for the storm to pass, it's about learning to dance in the rain. I knew what I had to do. I stepped out into the pouring rain, held out my hand, and said, if you love me, come dance with me. This is our last chance. People around us were watching. Mel, terrified of storms, hesitated, but then, she stepped into the rain and took my hand. The song ended after a minute, but it was enough. She had faced her greatest fear for me. We laughed, cried, and when we got home, we made love, tenderly, without words. 9 months later, I found myself standing in line for the tallest roller coaster. Mel had once told me she'd ask me to prove my love in return. As I was strapped into the seat, she let go of my hand and stepped back. You're not coming with me? I asked, panicked. Tears welled up in her eyes as she smiled and whispered, I can't. Why not? I shouted as the ride began to launch, and that's when I saw the sign, pregnant women are not allowed on this ride.